Namaste. I want to share with you a series of yoga practices that I use often for myself and a lot of people who come who have back issues. It's a really common thing to have issues with your lower back especially. There's a lot of weight bearing down on the lower back. There's a lot that we can do, and so I want to start with the safest exercises, those that are not going to aggravate your back, and then maybe we can build on, from there another day. So to start with, some ground rules. Nothing should hurt. So if you're getting any signs of discomfort, listen to your body, pull back from what we're doing. If you've got any reason to think that your doctor or physiotherapist would not be advising you to do any of what I'm sharing with you today, then stop and obviously check with them. And bring your love to your practice. So take yourself as you find yourself, accepting exactly how you are today. Today is different to yesterday and to tomorrow. And we don't judge where we're at. We don't need to make anything mean anything. We just take ourselves as we find ourselves and bring our love and acceptance to that. Okay, so it's time to jump off the sofa and join me on the mat. If you haven't got a mat, no worries. So it can be carpet or hard floor, as long as it's not cold. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to bring ourselves just down so that the back is flat on the floor. And if you're bringing your knees over your chest, or if you're bringing them up from being long on the floor, then move them one at a time. That will prevent straining your back. I want you to start with your knees up like so, one hand on each knee. And just begin a gentle rocking movement. If you've never done this before, then it could be that you feel rather unbalanced, and it could be that you just start with a really tiny little movement, just whatever you can manage. But this will soothe your back and stretch it very slightly, and gives you a little bit of a massage, and enables you to check in with how your back is today. Even I, with my back being quite well at the moment, I feel a need for a little bit extra height under my head. And if you've got a really stiff back today, then that's really going to be of tremendous benefit. Just raising the head stretches the neck, and it's like the spine is one great long piece of string. So if we just stretch a little bit of it, a little bit more, that sort of transcends down the spine. So a little rocking movement here. It should feel really nice and easy and really soothing. And when you feel ready for it now, so this practice, just side to side rocking is what I would call it. When you feel ready for a little extra movement, then just introducing a little twist. Turning your head to either side. When your knees go one way, you turn your head in the opposite direction. And when you're ready for a bigger twist, usually we just go legs to one side, opposite arm the other direction, but I'm going to take you into this really gently. I'd like you to roll over. If you roll to your right, your whole body rolling right over, then place your right hand on the upper knee, and then you can just see to what extent you want to open yourself up into this twist, with the left arm being laid out to the left, just so it's comfy for you. If this is not accessible for you, if it gets uncomfortable, you need a cushion between your knees, that's fine, or under your lower leg, that's fine. And also if you want to bend this arm back in, whatever works to make it comfortable for you, so that you can relax here, allowing the belly to swell when you breathe in, and everything just to soften and spread on each out breath. Okay, you might choose to stay longer there. So the same on the other side, but it's worth having a little bit of rocking before we go to the other side. just so that we can do a little reckoning with, okay, how did my back respond to that? All well. So over we go to the other side. Again, roll the whole body over, and then it'll be your left hand on the upper knee, and your right arm just wherever it's comfy, just however much you want to open up into that twist there. And then again, being here for a few breaths, always breathing in through the nose as long as it's clear, out through nose or mouth. And there's a strong stretching, twisting stretch, stretching twist all the way around the body. Tremendous benefits, as well as that deep rotation all the way up and down the spine. We've got the benefits for the abdominal muscles and organs there. The whole abdominal area being wrung out, assisting with digestion, stimulating all the vital organs. So, one more breath on this side. And we come up, make it easy on yourself. You can use your hands, separate those knees. And again, a little rock. This is the go-to. If you've got trouble with your back, this is such a great little go-to practice. Okay, so that was the relaxed lying twist. I'd like now to bring in a practice not strictly yoga, but it works fantastically well to help us wake up the core muscles and ease the back into a little bit more lengthening, but in a really supported way. So I've got my back flat on the floor. I've got my heels lifted a little bit, and it's not just because the blanket's in the way, it's because actually I want to be pressing down through the balls of my feet, activating the quads, activating the glutes, and I'm going to press down now through the balls of my feet in order to secure my back down into the floor. So I'm working, there's not a lot to see, but I'm pressing down, especially the middle back section. My tail is ever so slightly lifted off the floor. So I'm starting to feel, yep, solid here. And I'm feeling like, yeah, if I held this for much longer, I'd begin to fatigue from the tummy muscles there. So I'll continue another couple of breaths. Okay, and the other muscles that start to come into play automatically, but you could have a little conscious contraction, are the pelvic floor muscles, the whole of the pelvic floor there. Men and women, we all have a pelvic floor. So we can have the feet, we can be quite symmetrical about this practice here, or if you fancy it, you can press one foot into the floor a little more strongly and tip slightly over onto the opposite side of the back, and the other, so it'll go across the body. You know, we're just learning kind of how the feet and the action in the feet is intrinsically connected with what's going on in the back. Because so much a part of what we get from yoga is this enhanced body awareness, learning how the body is always in cooperation, different parts of the body cooperating, the integrated whole, to be all in balance is the aim. Lifestyles don't always allow that. Okay, so I call this little practice the back press. It's really, really useful. It's quite boring, but it's useful. Okay, so the next exercise, I call it the pelvic clock. And this is where I'll just show you how it looks when I do it, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. Round and round in a circle, and the other way. I'm imagining that I've got a clock face, and it's inscribed on my back. So 6 o'clock is the tailbone, and then 12 o'clock is around halfway down the back. So I'm pressing the numerals of that clock face into the floor, one at a time, working my way around that. Okay, and I just change direction whenever I want to. As you can see, the knees move around, the heels will lift off the floor. I'm using the feet, sometimes one foot, sometimes the other more. You can coordinate with your breath, and so that would be as you go around the bottom of the clock face, you're breathing in, the back's arching away from the floor, and as you go around the top half of the clock face, you're breathing out. So that's a really nice little exercise for bringing much more mobility between the joints in and on the back, and those sacroiliac joints as well. Our fifth practice now is the crocodile twist. I love this one. Arms loosely overhead, the feet are wide to start with, and then we flop the knees over to one side. We get a fantastic stretch all the way down through. I've taken my knees to the right, so the stretch is down through the left side, just completed with that left arm overhead. And then up and over to the side, and the stretch with the legs to the left, the stretch is through the right side. For me, it's all the way across that hip joint, the waist. For some people, if you're more stiff in the quadriceps, you'll feel it there. Okay, so our sixth practice is forwards, backwards rolling. Before we were holding in front of the knees for our side to side rocking. For this, I'd like you to hold behind your knees in any way that's comfy. You can hold your hands like this, or just have them separate. This is brilliant for back pain. If you've got pain in your lower back, then I would really recommend that you keep a big angle here, big space here, and a big space behind your knees as well. That way you'll be able to press very specifically just up and down on the lower back. And then you'll find if you can tease open those vertebrae apart, you'll maybe be able to take the movement further up the spine, holding the legs a bit closer to you. But don't rush into that. This is one I'd say, if you've got issues with your back, take yourself to the floor as often as you can through the day, opening things up. It's also brilliant for your core. You'll soon find that you tire in the tummy if you're not used to this one. If you want to coordinate with the breath, you can follow the traditional breathing pattern, breathing in as you go back, out as you go forward. Okay. Our seventh exercise this evening is something I call hippie hammy stretches. So we're opening up the hips and the hamstrings, hippie hammies. For this, it's a seated fold, and the back can be really vulnerable in a seated fold, but we'll be okay because we'll be holding the breath in. That creates intra-abdominal pressure, and that helps to just keep those vertebrae supported. It's really important, this way of breathing, especially if you have a bad back. We take a breath in, holding it in, we just take ourselves forward just as far as it's totally comfortable for you today, and breathing out, coming up, changing. Take a breath in, hold it in, and breathing out to come up. You can do this as many times as you like, of course. The suppleness will find you. You don't need to push anything. Stay really comfortable with it. So I like to be pressing down as I go forward. I press down through the foot or the ankle of the bent leg. Somehow that adds a little something extra for me, a bit more security, a bit more support in the foundation, and I can release more in the back. And I'll just do one more on this side. Okay. I would always take my back to the floor, just that little reckoning there. Just check in, make sure it's all okay. And also just somehow you get the benefit, the full benefit of the exercise there. Because when we open up the hips, as we just did with the hippie hammy stretches there, the back in turn is eased out, as well as of course from the folding forward. But and any time that you stretch the back, it's really worth just coming back to your go-to side-to-side rocking. Okay. So that was hippie hammy stretches. We're going to move into now our cat stretch practice. This is our 8th practice. And here it's really nice, take it really easy on the dipped back position, but it's really nice to move with the breath. So on the in breath, allow a little dip, not too much if you have a bad back. And on the out breath, to stretch through the back. So breathing in, you make a bit of a valley shape with the back there. And on the out breath, we make a hill shape. So this exercise is often recommended by physiotherapists. And in yoga, it's very often part of the warm-up, and of course we coordinate with the breath. Taking your back through its full range of movement in this plane. Just one more time, breathing in, breathing out. Okay, so practice number 9 has us taking our cat shape, here where we're breathing in, and taking our dome shape, cat back, into a position called swan. So we've sunk the hips down onto the heels just as far as we can there. Okay, but it's really nice to take your stretched back all the way back into swan. So here again, that little gentle dip on the in breath. On the out breath, you're tucking your head under, tucking your tail under, and you're keeping that tucked under head and tail as you take your hips back. Moving forward up into cat. Breathing in, allowing a little dip, and then breathing out, head and tail tuck under, and take it back. Yeah, so just maybe one more time. Practice number 10 is having us coming forward onto our tummies. And if you've got issues with your tummy, a hernia, or if you've had recent abdominal surgery, or if it just feels uncomfortable in any way, then modify, lower yourself down. Your back may not be happy with this, so if you need to lower yourself down, one way of supporting yourself in a lower back bend is to use fists, either one on top of the other or even just right down to just one. Okay, but finding a place where you can just soften through the back of your body and be really comfy in order to take a few nice relaxed breaths. So Sphinx, if it's comfortable for you, is here with the elbows under the shoulders. And I just like to bring my hands together. It's up to you what you do with your hands, really. My feet are apart and the heels are rolling outwards. That's the relaxed position for the legs when we're on our front. So a few breaths here, just letting the belly swell when you breathe in. Feeling the tummy against your mat, and allowing the back to soften. So very often when we've got a bad back, we avoid these back bend positions, but this position can be so corrective. I believe it's actually recommended for sciatica as a corrective position. You don't have to be this high up, you might well be down with your chin on your fist. But allowing the back to realise that it can relax here in this shape. Okay, so this is Sphinx pose. And on our next And final piece of work is our cobra. I'm going to do some cobra raises. So we're going to raise ourselves up off the floor. The full cobra position is with the arms. So I'm not asking you to do this, but the arms are long like so. We're not going to do that. We're not going to use the arms at all. In fact, we're going to use the back muscles. And that kind of, for most people, unless you've got a really, really troublesome back, it usually actually is okay. If you're using your back muscles to come up, then they'll kind of stop you from going too far. You shouldn't be able to push yourself into any painful position. The back muscles will limit themselves how far they enable you to lift. It's really important to use the breath. So it's on an in-breath that we come up. So whenever you're ready, we breathe in, we point the toes away, the heels roll in, the legs engage, the buttocks engage, and the back engages. And I actually breathed in because I can't talk and breathe in at the same time. That last little bit of in-breath lifted me even more because it's my diaphragm pressing down into the floor, that breathing muscle at the base of the rib cage. So I'm going to have to breathe in again. And you see the effect of that diaphragm muscle. Breathing out, I sink. Breathing in. Okay, and be time to rest. Have a little rest there. You can practice that again, or practice with you just one more time. You might have enough work in just coming up on the in-breath and sinking all the way back down for rest on the out-breath. That's fine. So from chin on the floor. On an in-breath, the heels will roll in, the toes will point away, the buttocks will tighten, the back will tighten. You're not using the arms. And coming down and having a rest. Head on hands and a little wiggle side to side in the hips. So after you've rested sufficiently, then I'd like to invite you to come back into your Sphinx pose for just a few more nice big belly breaths here. Sphinx belly breaths. And you might find that you're more comfortable here than you were a few moments ago. Breathing some softness into your back. You can spend longer here if you want to, of course. We'll come down and again make a little pillow, have a wiggle side to side. And when you're ready, we'll just bring ourselves back to the floor. Your back to the floor. And again, just a little rocking, whatever you want to do, so that you feel how your back is. Letting it press into the floor, letting it lengthen out a little bit. So I'd like to invite you now to just go into any of those shapes that we had previously. It might be a twist, it might be a little back press, it might be that you go around your pelvic clock a few times more. Whatever your back is asking for. So your final practice is to rest, a nice supported rest. So I mentioned about 2 cushions, and I would also suggest that you have some support. A bolster if you have it, you can just use cushions piled up to create the same effect. And this is to go under either your thighs or your knees, whatever you find comfortable. And that way you just have a much flatter back down into the floor. Without the bolster, the back would be drawn into an arch and you could be back into that contracted back muscle situation that just keeps you stiff. So this can be really beneficial. We haven't needed the block, but that's okay. And so just feeling how your body wants to arrange itself for optimal opening, softening, relaxing. Letting your tummy swell on each in-breath. So of course you might choose to lie here for the rest of the day, that's fine, but I'll come up and bring this short video to a close. And thank you very, very much for watching, and I just wish you the very, very best of luck with your back. I know what it's like. And, but keep going with this sort of practice, strengthening the core. There's a load more we can be doing with that, so maybe another video, maybe I'll put another video on sometime soon. But good luck, thank you.